It's green. It is green.
Yeah, with that, the meetings are live streamed, so if you make sure that your microphone is on green, so that anyone who is, they're not recorded, but they are live streamed at this stage. That's the plan. Yep. Moving on to the agenda. Apologies. Yes, move. I'll move. You second. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Carried. And confirmation of the minutes. Long time ago. When was it? 14th of March. So I'll also move that they be a true and correct record. Second. Thank you. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Regional Waste Minimisation Officers Report, Activity Report. So, to you, Grayson.
Thank you. So I'll just provide a brief update about the points reported here. So the first one is the Zero Waste Fund. So the latest funding round that we had for New Plymouth District Council, and we had 2 successful applications. They were the Wash Against Waste trailer and a series of composting workshops. Stitch Up Society, so they are a textile sewing group. They're all on track, so we've had 1 workshop run for Stitch Up Society so far and 1 composting workshop held, so they're all on track. And the previous one, is the Wash Against Waste trailer, so that is now built. It's been a long time in the works and it is now running at the Seaside Market by Namatu Beach. The requirement with that is that all vendors have to use reusable crockery, and that's all running really well. The next step is to try and address coffee cups. It's still a bit of an issue with the crockery walking off, take away coffee, obviously. So that's the next challenge for that group to address. And I've included a photo there of what it looks like. It's still yet to be designed up and wrapped, but that is coming.
Will that be used at more venues or just the Seaside Market?
So I think the plan is that it can be used around at other events. It is owned by the organiser of the Seaside Market, but she can move it around. So we provided funding for her to build it, but it is part of her business. So the reports are required for 3 years, so it's a lot longer commitment than we'd have with other funders because it is quite a substantial asset.
Yep.
So yes, it can be moved around, but at this stage, that's at her discretion.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was just sticking with that for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
What other issues are you finding with it? Like say, are the public accepting it and moving with it?
Yeah, it's been really successful so far. So all the vendors are using it, and the first 2 Seaside Markets that have happened, it's had a really good uptake. Signage is still a bit of a work in progress, so that people kind of know what it is. It doesn't just blend in, but it has significantly reduced the waste. We don't have the data of how much waste has been reduced yet. They're still collecting that, but it is a requirement that they provide that to us. So we will have a bit more of an update on the impact it's having soon, but so far it's been running really successfully. Just the coffee cups is a challenge.
So are they using crockery or are they using plastic type plates?
I think it's kind of a mix. I think they have like some crockery mugs that people can have there, but then plastic melamine plates and things, which were all collected secondhand. So it was all sourced from op shops and things. So no new things were purchased. And it is, pretty self-sufficient. It's running. So it's going very well. It's been a long time coming, so it's great to see it running for that summer season coming up as well.
The waste.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how it is connected.
I mean, it's not connected, so it would be like a capture system, like a camper van, like an RV style. Yeah.
And it has an industrial dishwasher, obviously, so it's sanitized. It's not just like hand washed; it's all sanitized through a proper, one of those big sanitized machines. So, it's all up to public use, I guess.
Is that concept transferable?
Yep, I think there has been another smaller one done in the past, but having that commercial sanitizer, it's a very big upfront cost, and that sort of covered unit is like that little caravan pictured there. It was, so we didn't fund the whole thing. It was other funding was, you know, fundraised and things. So a great model, but quite expensive to replicate. So it would need to be, obviously the Seaside Market is an ongoing event, so it's pretty guaranteed that it's going to be used. But for other events, you know, you'd want to make sure it's being utilised very often to make it worth the build. But yeah, absolutely. Other councils around the country do have them, different versions depending on their needs. But yep, definitely replicatable, just quite expensive.
Okay, yep. Thank you.
All right, speaking of events, so the next one, just a quick update on how our event season has been going. So we've had 11 council events, events on council land over the from May 1st to 30th of June, all achieving quite a high diversion rate of over 70%. So currently for council, if an event organiser reaches a 50% diversion, we cover the cost of their waste, but we are looking to raise that because we are seeing that it's very achievable to raise that up, and just that requires our organisers to be kind of, you know, reaching a little bit higher than that 50%. So that is in the works at the moment to look to raise the threshold a little bit to encourage, you know, even more diversion, which is very achievable, we believe.
So what products are making up most of that waste that's not being diverted?
I think a lot of it comes from the compostable packaging and or food packaging that's too soiled to be recycled. So there's just some issues around things that touch food and then things not being quite as compostable. There's quite strict requirements of what can be composted. If they're plastic lined, it can't be, so that is unfortunately landfill. So just kind of also working with vendors to make sure they're providing things that can be diverted from landfill, but it's quite hard to get those specifics in place.
In some of the events, people are allowed to bring their own food in, so it could be stuff they had brought in from outside the catering or the vendors as well.
Soft plastics, you know, chips and bits and pieces, that's all going to go to landfill. I think most council facilities have quite strict rules about what comes in or, you know, what is sold there, but there is always, if people bring waste in and want to throw it out, then that's typically going to be going to landfill. So, but a lot of it can be controlled, and we are seeing that that 70% would be quite achievable if we were to raise that threshold a little bit. So that's in the plans, I believe.
Just a comment.
Yeah, of course.
Jim. If you go raise the bar, don't do big lumping jumps. Just tickle over it over a number of years or a number of months or something. Because other projects we've raised the bar quite high and we've done it too fast. We've just put the bar.
We are doing it based on what looking at previous numbers of how many recipients wouldn't have met the threshold if we were to raise it, and it is very low numbers compared to everyone that did. So it's just kind of a push for those that are pretty close, but maybe with 50 is quite easy to achieve. So there's only a very few amount, but yes, we wouldn't go raising it so far out. And
we've also flagged, so with our change of structure, we have more resourcing allocated to supporting event organizers to ask questions in the planning phase, as well as if they didn't achieve it, we could also now offer some post analysis, like what would you do differently, so improvement opportunities. So if we are going to raise it, we are providing that support as well.
They won't just be blindsided by this
change.
We would communicate it quite well, but it wouldn't. We don't believe it would be an issue for most. Okay. They're already achieving that, so just raising the bar.
So I know you're probably dealing mostly with MPDC stuff, but what about the other district councils as well? Do they fit into those criteria?
So it depends on their bylaw. This is a bylaw requirement that we require a waste plan, and we offer, we're one of the few councils actually in the North Island who offer the incentive of actually paying for divertibles. A lot of other councils don't offer that, but it would depend on what the bylaws are for Stratford and for South Taranaki.
I don't know if there is any requirement in the South Taranaki bylaw. I'm not sure about Stratford personally, about the number of events, if it would be something that would pop up particularly often, needing to be put into a bylaw. Not sure about the number of events, but I know previously they in Stratford, regarding the AMP show, there had been a similar system implemented, like our sending volunteers to help sort waste, but it wasn't particularly a lot of their waste was coming from external. So, it's quite hard to put limits on what was coming in. So the diversion was quite low, but they're quite, one-off events per year. So
I think New Plymouth is a destination as well for events with the venues we have and the capacity, but there's nothing to say all the information and resourcing can't be replicated in other districts as well. It's kind of a pretty step-by-step process of what we do that can easily be shared as well.
Do you guys want to comment on that at all?
So I'm not 100% sure about what our bylaw states. I don't think we have anything at the moment. We do have a very low level of events waste management support that we give at this stage, but it is something that is part of our waste management and minimization plans actions, is to actually review that and see how we can adjust that to increase.
Right, thank you. Yep.
All right, the next one on there is about the Wastemen's Conference. So this was held back in May up in Hamilton at the Claudeland Event Centre. Council staff from all 3 district councils attended. Myself and a council officer from New Plymouth were presenting at this conference. So the NPDC council officer presented on the circular stationery program, which has been spoken about at this committee before. Just sharing the learnings of how that went, and had a lot of follow-up emails from other councils wanting to replicate that system. So that was a great case to share. And myself, so I presented on the regional approach to creating the waste plan. So a few other councils around the country do create joint waste minimisation plans, but not all. So it was just an opportunity to share, our learnings from that process. And again, I've had a lot of follow-up emails from other councils wanting to hear how we work as a region with shared services. So it's been a lot of interest in trying to create the sort of system that we have of shared contracts and waste plans. So it was a great opportunity to share.
Is that I suppose we know no different here in Taranaki, but are people looking to go that way? Or
So I had right after the conference, I had a call with a council member down in the South Island. I can't remember the exact councils, but almost identical system to us, of quite a large council, sort of a medium size, and then quite a small council wanting to go into shared services, but in the past it hasn't worked. But very similar to ours, of quite close proximity, and just really wanted to hear how we make it work, making sure it's fair, that the big council doesn't take over. That was the concern of the I think it might have been Gore District Council, so quite a small area, and just trying to they see that it works really well up here, and other councils like Wellington and Christchurch that have the same situations up of regional. I know Otago District Council just employed a regional officer to help set that up for that area. So it's becoming quite common, I guess, to try and work with your neighbours a little bit more, but still a challenge for some that just on the start of the journey, whereas we're so far down, been doing this for years. So sharing those learnings has been very requested.
Just to supplement me,
was
there any common themes or any, when you're networking with all the other councils, was there any common problems that was pretty indicative to all other councils coming through, or anything stand out?
So definitely like different waste services needed for different communities. So quite similar to ours in, a city and then rural, trying to share services like that, different resourcing from different councils. Very similar things that we face and tackle here of, trying to replicate things in all the councils, and that shared services is quite challenging. The council I spoke with was quite surprised to hear that while we share a contract, we still offer very different services. So the weekly versus fortnightly, different bins. Quite surprised that we could make that happen under one contract. They sort of were assuming that we all do the same, or we don't work together at all, and sharing that is not the case. You can still have your individual council services, but just sort of sharing that a little bit. So kind of moving away from this all or nothing that we sort of operate, still individual, but
with the new contract, you're more or less going to be fairly standardised, though, aren't you?
It's closer, I'd say. We can touch on that in the bit of an operations report, but still different, but closer.
But to be fair, a lot of that's being driven from central government to be standardised, isn't it? So that it makes it a lot simpler.
Yes, for sure. What else have we got? Just an update on the construction and demolition waste tradie breakfast. So that did happen on the 26th of July at Marate Mega up in New Plymouth. So this was an event that was run in partnership with Mitre 10 and 3R. It was an invitation for businesses to come along and hear about how they could minimise their waste. There was over 60 people attended that free event, so 6:30 in the morning. I think it was on a Friday. It was quite a fantastic turnout for that time. Mostly construction, demolition, building companies, but the result of that was we had, I think, just over 9 or 10 sign up for the sorting depot. So customers we hadn't previously managed to get. So that was a really big boost. And I think a few site visits have also been organised as a result of that. So companies wanting to come and see what the site looks like and, just get a bit more insight into how it runs. So a really successful event. These happen around the country quite a bit, and we are looking to do more in the future. It's a great way to just in-person engagement with these companies. So yeah, it was incredibly successful.
Who's 3R?
They're glues, I think, chemical company, I think.
Yeah, how would you describe this exactly?
Yeah, they kind of
Consultant?
have a few different hats, but they're based in Napier, Hawke's Bay area, and they do they run a few recycling initiatives and incentives. So, for example, they've helped us before with some mattress recycling. So they kind of take pet projects and see what they can do in that space.
Okay. So they're in their space.
Yeah, and some consultancy, I think, as well, a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
So it's
Who's 3R?
quite an interesting makeup. I think, a bit of consultancy work with businesses about, kind of moving away from certain waste products. The feedback was that they were fantastic, very knowledgeable. Yeah, like we said, quite specific sort of projects. But yeah, a real asset to work alongside. So,
Okay.
yeah.
3 hours or so.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
correct. Yeah.
Great. Yep.
Okay.
While you're talking about that, how's that progressing?
Yep, so 1st of September it starts, so we're a week away,
Yeah.
I guess. I think it's
So just it started back in March to capture any imported tires, the fees, so they could build up that revenue cushion room.
Right.
But from the 1st of September is when the public will no longer have to face charges with disposal of them. So for the region, we do have tread lights set up, and they're based at the sorting depot, but provide a regional service for collection they work directly with tire companies, mechanics, and collect from them. Yeah. So that's already actually been in operation for a few months now. I guess it'll just be a small change for the public really actually seeing the no charge associated.
Yep. Did you want to say something more?
I was just going to say, just South Taranaki, just to do transfer station. We're going to get an influx of tires.
For a starter, yep.
Historical
Yep.
legacy ones.
And I suppose it'll be interesting to know if they're able to cope with that for a starter.
yeah.
That has been discussed. That is planned, that influx initially.
There are limits though. It is meant to be
There
5
is,
tires
yeah.
at a time.
Right.
But quite difficult, a comment was made yesterday, well, if there's 2 people in the car, is that 10?
Yeah.
It's
Come back the next day or
kind of
5 minutes
limits
later.
you put on,
10 tyres in the car.
Go to the
Good
different
luck.
transfer stations.
and really, if you've got, say, 50 tires on your property, do we really want 10 trips made?
Yeah.
If it's just going to be 10 back-to-back days. Yeah. So there are some things to work out, I think. I know that Stratford transfer station will not be accepting tires, so I guess we'll check in with them if their mechanics around will be, because mechanics can be signed up. So when you swap tires, you can just do it there rather than transfer stations. But yeah, Harwood and then us in New Plymouth will have drop-offs.
Is that a space issue for them, or is that a...
There's quite strict regulations around storing tires, I think.
You can only have a set limit.
Yeah, and quite a small space.
Yeah.
Need a lot of space to store
yes,
tires. So I think that was a decision just based on if mechanics are going to be taking it, then let them do that.
Because how often are they coming? Are they shredding on site?
No.
So They're to a degree, I think, not as much as they had originally anticipated, because they have their hub in Cambridge. So what they do is they kind of get it down to a smaller size so they can transport more efficiently.
Yes.
But then do the full shredding up at their site in Cambridge. Yeah.
I think it's just collection sites book in when they've got quite a few. I think, there's an app quite amazing that you log how many you've got, and they come and get them once they've got a fair few, I guess.
Yeah.
So probably region by region would be, to make it quite efficient, but yeah.
Yep.
All right.
There's a tire app. Is it a
So,
tire app?
no, sorry,
It's
for
what-
registered
it?
collection places, there's an app that they use to log when tires are dropped off to let, I guess, so we can keep a track of what's happening, and also so they can get the money back for things. And
okay.
they developed it so it's really universal across the country, so that operators log how many they've received and then can let the company know to come pick them up. So we're not calling around and emailing about tires. It's all just
And that
automated.
forms part of the TireWise, the national organization that's kind of looking after this product stewardship scheme.
Okay, but just to comment on bringing 5 tires only, or maximum 5 tires, because I'd bring a whole trailer load.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
like,
if you're gonna
I'm
make
not
the
going to
journey.
travel that distance and
Yeah.
do that 10 times. Maybe pre-book
I think
if you're
there
over
is an
if you're over
option.
5 or
But
something.
again, there's that risk. So MFE does have, again, the strict storage regulations around, is it outdoor, indoor, how many you could store.
Yeah.
So it just helps the operator manage that a bit. Because if, the collector's unable to for some reason, or it's short notice, so it just kind of.
But I could book in a trailer load.
Yeah.
They just say like, well, Tuesday we're free. Well, Tuesday our
Yeah.
yard's empty.
I think there was
Because
capability
most farmers
big
are
stockpiles.
storing them.
Yeah, there
They
was
are.
something.
We have got tires stacked.
We're using a lot of them too.
So many.
Oh no, I've got them stacked.
Yeah, there was a clause in the TireWise scheme about legacy stockpiles.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that you work with the company directly.
Yeah.
Don't just show up with a truck, because exactly, if the transfer station can only take half, you'd be a bit upset. So there is that acknowledgement that there's some stockpiles around that they'd like to get cleared out, but don't just take it to the poor little transfer station.
Or mechanic, yeah.
Yeah, or mechanic. It's going to
Yeah, but
panic.
we've been stockpiling them. We didn't really know what we were going to do with them.
Well, solid stacks. Yeah.
Oh no, that's gone. Even the solid tires. Yeah, we got we got quite a few.
Well, at least now it's free
Yeah.
from
okay.
September to
We
get
won't-
rid of
we
them.
won't bring a
So,
truckload. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll work on it.
Yep. All good.
right, so last thing on here, I'll just give a quick debrief, but this will probably get passed over to South Taranaki. So South Taranaki District Council has implemented the Resource Wise Business Program. Again, I believe we've sort of touched on it in the past. It's a program that businesses sign up to do. It starts with a waste audit, so finding out what their waste streams are, and then working closely with them to find ways to optimise their waste. The council started off with their own facilities, so really getting their own ducks in a row. And those have all been completed now. So all council facilities have had their first waste audit. And I've provided a quick update there on some of the findings. So very different diversion rates being achieved across sites. No one size fits all there. And some initiatives that have been implemented so far. And then just an update as well that they've now, having completed all of the council facilities, have moved into external businesses. So one business has had their waste audit and more in the process of being signed up. So the program's running well.
Is there anything we can derive from the wide range of recycling? Is it the demographics, or the what the people are doing, and are they office workers or labourers, or does that show up in any of the data at all? Or?
Yeah, you can definitely see the difference there. Admin blocks, or whether it's predominantly administrationally driven, it's completely different to a lot of the other more individual sites. You can definitely see the difference, but also there's the motivators behind it as well. And if there's one person that drives the change, you can see it. And other places, if there's not that person, then yeah. So there's a lot of variances for different reasons. But so far it looks really good, and it's some really good solid plans that we can put in place to optimize it.
So if we use that as a scenario to roll that system out into a more general sense, then, does that give us some ideas what we want to do?
Yes.
Yeah. Hopefully we can replicate. Yeah.
That's part of the rationale of us doing it in-house first. Obviously, leading by example is the first step, but also then what can we use with the data and the analysis that we have to encourage others to showcase some of it.
To get the best results that if you do these things, then you'll get a better outcome. Yeah.
And in different scenarios.
No, thank you. All right. Was about it?
That's about it.
So, do you want to move the receiving and the recommendation?
Chairman.
I'll second. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried.
Need some friends.
Operational report.
All right. So the first thing, which is very topical at the moment, is the solid waste services contract. It is changing. It's getting very close, 1st of October. So far, I would say everything's really on track. Fleet is well underway. We'll be here in time. They were concerned that fleet is always one of those things that's up to the last minute, but we've heard that it's all on track. Bins have been ordered and the rollout has started. Is that correct? All the bins are being rolled out.
So how much of the fleet is electric?
So no electric vehicles for South Taranaki.
Right.
I think.
Distance is too far.
Yes, correct. The regions.
Yeah, Matt,
districts too wide.
Yeah, I'm not too sure on if it's electric fleet or not. I know that we are sharing.
Was that a criteria in the quote, in the tender?
It was.
It was,
Yeah.
And I do think for New Plymouth, there were certain vehicles, only certain ones, again, based off our experience, only the ones for urban areas really can be optimized in that space. And I think the design of the truck is to actually, instead of going electric, we're actually going to reduce the amount of trucks, was the way to offset that kind of criteria.
Actually, yes. So now thinking back, so one of the things that's going to be quite different this time is we don't have a separate food scraps truck and glass truck. It's a combination truck, and I believe that is electric because we were looking at putting that on the design. So obviously for Stratford, it's not going to be relevant. The truck will just go around to pick up glass, but for New Plymouth and for South Taranaki, the truck only has to only one truck goes out to collect food and glass. Obviously on the week that it's just food scraps, it's going just that, but to minimize those trips, kind of combining those. So you will see those, the design of the trucks shows that the truck collects both. So hopefully the public isn't confused seeing glass fall into a food truck, because that was a concern. So that should be minimized. A lot of education coming out for South Taranaki, with they're having very significant changes, as we've discussed previously. An open day is being held for the public, so I believe that's planned for the 14th of September. The truck will be there so that the public can come down and see it, see the new bins, and ask any questions to council officers if they're concerned about the new food scrap service or switching from weekly collection to fortnightly. So as we were saying before, we're now going to be very aligned with our services. So what New Plymouth has done will now be replicated in South Taranaki. Stratford is still staying status quo, however, so weekly landfill collection. But yeah, now more aligned on those services there. And then transfer stations. So I've put in there as well that we've just been looking at more efficient resourcing for some of these transfer stations. So sharing staff rather than having two operators, can go to one transfer station in the morning and another in the afternoon. So instead of having two, we just have one. So the hours have been moved around a little bit there. That'll be happening from the 1st of October when we launch.
I do want to add, I don't think it was captured in here, my apologies, but the change to New Plymouth District Council services we are providing an opt-in service for commercial sector. We are replicating the residential service, so it won't be different. So those who meet the requirements, who actually that service would be appropriate, can opt in. We'll have some eligibility criteria, but really who we're going to target, who would be a small to medium-sized business, probably office-based, marae, churches, sports clubs. So those are the kind of entities that could now opt in from 1st of November. We're going to allow that month of teething to get the residential collection underway, but then offer that now as an opt-in service for commercial sector.
So the surplus bins that are coming out of South Taranaki, what's happening to those?
Yep. So they're currently owned by Enviro Waste or
Right.
Enviro NZ.
Yep.
They will be collecting all those bins, the ones that are put out by the public. So we're going to be doing communications out there to say, put your old bins out after the 1st of October, and there'll be specific timeframes around when to put those out. And then the collection team will come around and sweep those streets twice. So over 2 weeks for the different zones. So it's going to be 4 weeks all in total.
Yep.
And then they will be sent away for recycling, shredding and recycling into more plastic products.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. That's good. Thank you.
All right. The next one on here is the sorting depot. So just providing a quick update on how that's going. So we're now just over a year of the sorting depot being opened. And I've provided we now have a dashboard that will be hosted on the NPDC website so that the community can see how the sorting depot is performing. So you can see the amount of waste brought in versus diverted, what the most common waste materials are being diverted, and just how it peaks up and down throughout the year. So it is noted that June was a drop there, but with seasonal influx, to be quite expected. Yeah, I think anything else might be a Matt question. Manages that. So
I think the sorting depot goes from strength to strength. So I think we can acknowledge that our officers are doing a lot of work in the background to try and encourage the public, encourage our commercial partners. So yeah, a lot of work happening in the background to get more customers through. So yeah, looking forward to the next 12 months and seeing it grow from strength to strength.
So what percentage of the market have you captured at the stage, do you think?
Tough one to comment on. Obviously not like as much as we'd like.
No.
It's but I'd say would it be around that 10-15%, I would imagine.
Oh right, yep. So there's still a long way to go.
Doing that in that regard.
Yeah.
yeah.
We also have a requirement under our consent for building construction. So any projects over 500K must submit a waste plan. And through that channel, now that we have the sorting depot, we're also able to raise awareness with the design, the construction company, all that this resource is available.
Yep. Yep.
And at the time of the report, we had 26 registered customers. Like I said, that event just happened in July, and we've received another 9 or 10 there. So those events really help to boost that. And with some upcoming site tours, I believe Cleland's is giving a tour, which is a big company, obviously. So yeah, just raising the awareness. First year, it takes a little while, but yeah, really seeing that kick off now, which is great to see.
So just a couple of interesting things there. Treated timber, what happens to that, the waste, that treated timber?
So that gets taken up to a facility in Pocono, where it's shredded to the right material and then traveled onwards to Golden Bay Cement.
Oh, so it's incinerator fuel?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Yep. Quite surprisingly, reusable building materials is a very minor percentage. I thought there might have been a bit more than that. But I suppose that's encouraging that builders are actually not turfing out stuff that's reusable.
The other thing is they could be taking it to the junction directly.
Yep.
And it wouldn't be captured here. But yeah, it's also the criteria, the reuse that they need. It has to be certain lengths, quality, things like that. But yeah.
Yeah. Because this is people have got to pay to drop it off there, don't they? Yeah.
Yes, it is cheaper there than sending to landfill. So that was one of the incentives.
Right. Yeah. Well. So if they can, sort it, then that would be desirable.
The junction does have quite a big, sort of an area outside for buildings materials. So if they're not going to the sorting depot, they're dropped off for free. And there's quite a lot of wood there. They have jib quite often. Old fixtures that weren't actually needed that were purchased. So the junction will be capturing a lot more than the sorting depot will, because obviously you don't pay for it if you drop it to the junction. So I think they're seeing a pretty good amount coming through there. A lot of wood. But the sizing is quite tough. Having it be a good.
Thank you.
All right. Speaking of the junction, so just to provide, just put some numbers in there about how the facility is going, but also just to provide a quick update on the build. So as it is now, it's in a temporary facility, as it has been for the last few years. The new build is underway. There were some issues with the consenting there, so it has been delayed slightly, but it's now planning to hit ground, I believe, early next year, which is not a problem really because it's timber framed. So summer is quite a good time to do that. So yeah, that's how that building is progressing along, and we should see that up. Yeah, next year, I believe is.
I think they're aiming for June 2025.
Yeah, June.
Sorry, July 2025 stage completion.
Right. And the last thing on there is the Patea Beach Sand Dune Management Plan. So just providing an update about the sign that has gone up and the use of the green waste there to help with coastal erosion. Louise could probably provide more information if there's any updates on that.
Yes, it has. We've had a bit of an update. Iwi has signed off the management plan, and that application has now gone through to TRC to renew the resource consent. I think I put that in here because it was really relevant around the closed landfill. The old green waste site was there, and then we're also using the green waste from the transfer station, clean green waste that's really good for erosion or stabilisation of those sand dunes. So that's ticking along. We're just waiting for TRC to come back with the resource consent.
Because didn't I see there's some UIRs for that site recently? Was there a few complaints or something like that, or non-compliance areas on that?
Yes, were, but that was to do with fly tipping at the old closed landfill.
Right.
So that but they STDC purposefully locked it all up and shut it down for that reason. I think it was really difficult to manage, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of white wheel was turning up.
Yeah.
They were just fly tipping it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the green waste is working on the stabilisation. I presume if you're renewing resource consent, it must be working. Yes,
definitely. Yeah, we've got to have specific types of green waste. It's got to be branches, that
woody stuff.
And we've had a coastal scientist working with us just to advise us what type of green waste to put in there. And that's vital for keeping that whole environmental site as it is. If we were not to put that green waste in there, it would just create wind cuts through and it just changes the whole landscape of it. So we're just trying to keep that stable around that area there.
Right. Yep. And how much area have you got to do, or is there, how big's the limit, or how long's the need?
It's an ongoing thing.
Right.
Yeah. We're going to need about 30 tonnes of green waste. Was it 30 tonnes or 30 truckloads of green waste? And that needs to happen every 5 or 6 years. So it's a big investment for council to keep that stable. And it's the area is, where the outlook is and that whole ring road. It's all that area down there, right across in front of the old green waste site. So it's a big area.
So how far and wide are you sort of sourcing that material from?
That's an interesting topic. We were just initially getting it from Patea transfer station, but that is not going to provide the amount that we need. So now we're going to go to Hawara. So the plan is, and after the 1st of October, we'll start stockpiling suitable green waste and then transporting that to Patea transfer station to stock it and it be available to place onto sand dunes when needed.
Right.
And iwi's aware of all that movement. They have requested that they cite us separating the green waste out at Hawara just so that they can see it's being done properly.
Because you don't want to be bringing weeds in. No.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, true. So we don't allow the public to drop any stuff off by themselves now, don't we? We take it to the transfer station and we truck it down.
That's right.
The appropriate stuff
Yes.
to truck down.
Yeah, we did consider reopening that, but it's just going to cause so many issues with once again fly tipping.
Yeah, no, it's quite a good way we're doing control of what goes down.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, it's like I say, I suppose it'd be nice to think that there are other areas where we could use similar sorts of situations, to move waste into a productive sector.
That's right.
Yeah. I suppose land farming is much the same type stuff. Yep. So you got down there about promoting the sorting depot. You've covered that, I suppose, mostly, haven't you? But is there more can be done, or how can we do more? Or
it's an ongoing part of our team's work. So we have commercial sustainability officers in the behaviour change team, and it's part of the ongoing work to promote that facility. And that creation of that dashboard is also to sort of help bring that awareness of how it's going. So that's just launched, I believe last month we got that up on the website. So that'll be updated monthly now so that the public can be a little bit more aware. And then also, as more businesses can kind of promote that they're using that facility, then the public kind of comes to expect that out of others. So we're hoping that as it becomes more visual and more people know about it, then companies will be a bit more incentivized by public, push really to use that.
Which I didn't look, but basically all the stuff that goes to the sorting depot, what percentage is upcycled and what percentages goes to waste after that?
Oh, we have that on the website.
Yep, so the diversion rate at the moment was about 37% is what we were seeing at the time that this was done total. Yeah.
Between recycling and reuse, I believe it's not on the website, but we do have it. We could get that information to you, but we do differentiate that. But that is around when you were saying the reuse. There's pretty much household items and that reuse timber, it would be the key one, some glass window framing. So it is a lot smaller than the recycling because obviously the weight comes into it when you look at treated timber versus someone chucked a bike that can be reused. Yep. So it's a bit lower percentage, but we do differentiate that in our calculations.
So I suppose shifting that 37% up, how hard is that to achieve? Do we need more avenues for the recycling, or is it, or is some of the stuff that's just not recyclable anyway?
So through the chair, it depends on what end markets are available in New Zealand, quite frankly. And again, it's quite a process to set up that agreement, what that looks like, how do we transport it, because quite a lot is not based in Taranaki. Yeah. Ideally, that would be our first preference. Anything local, we send it there, and then we look, outside outside the region. So as markets become available, we'll explore that.
So just sort of carrying on that theme then. At the waste minimisation conference that you were at, I'm not sure if there was much discussed, but I was talking to the person who was collecting my 200-litre plastic drums for ag recovery, and was sort of saying it was the Lions Club were doing it, and they were accumulating them, and then they were trucking them to Kauai, I think, in a whole fashion. It just seems a whole waste of carting a lot of air instead of actually bringing a shredder in and doing it just like that tannalised wood. Why we're not shredding that here and taking a bin load up rather than
So through the chair, there are a couple of these. So we actually have just trialed polystyrene, for example. So we're looking to send that to Palmy because they have Mercer North because there's a facility there. But for example, they don't accept shredded, and they're quite bulky but light. But it just takes up space in a vehicle, right? But their acceptance criteria is strict that they don't allow for it to be melted or shredded. So it also depends on their criteria and how they use it. We have investigated having a shredder on site. And that actually is in place for treated timber. Again, it depends what the end market allows us to do, because obviously that will gain transport efficiencies as well.
Yeah, that's right. Because sometimes we, like I said before, we were trying to do electric rubbish trucks. Well, maybe we better actually stick with diesel, but actually make them efficient and make them, TR3 engines, etc., so that they are carbon efficient, and we're just as well off, pretty much. So and the same applies. If we're carting air in a lot of cases, then we are not being efficient. a lot of these things.
That's one of our biggest problems is getting it out of Taranaki to the markets.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, well, it's tyres, it's a lot, it's just about
Silage
everything.
wrap. Yeah.
It's everything's got to get out of Taranaki.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so transport, we're paying a lot of money. I doubt whether the recycled plastics even paying for the truck to get it to Auckland,
Yeah.
The cost of getting a truck and trailer load to
Yeah,
Auckland
yeah.
of air
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to utilise railways or eventually
Yeah.
containers.
So
Completely agree.
sort of carrying that on, and I'm not sure, Abby, whether, you've had discussions with Charlotte. I haven't had again, but she was talking about, talking to the politicians about changing the legislation. At the conference, was anything talked much about the legislation we've got at the moment to drive greater move to upcycling, recycling, whatever.
Yep, so for the product stewardship schemes like the tyres, there is one coming for farm plastics, so that would deal with, which is surprising because AgRecovery does shred on site when they come to farms because of that exact reason that it's really hard to move those empty cans around, very big and bulky, so they do shred on site.
Which is, I thought that was the case, but the guy I was talking to said no, they've got to get them to Auckland, so which is disappointing.
Yeah, there was some discussions about the legislation coming through, mostly in that product stewardship scheme space. Any other updates so MFE were present at the conference and we did hear from Minister Simmons there about a few different aspects like the container return scheme, but all other changes to the Waste Act have kind of been paused for the meantime while they conduct their own review, was her approach to that.
Through the chair, with the point you had just raised earlier, because we have such a limited market within Taranaki and we do have to transport out of region, where we would really benefit from political pull is can we establish more markets locally here? We have space. They have the waste minimization fund available to help promote regional initiatives like that. It would boost local economy. So that's really where we could probably get the most efficiencies, is having more options in region.
Yeah.
Leads perfectly into my next question.
Yeah.
Food scraps. Can we have an update on food scraps? Are they still getting trucked out of Taranaki? And how close are we away from leaving them in Taranaki?
I can speak to that through the chair. You would have seen in the long-term plans that has been approved, and it's also in our waste plan. So there's definitely that project is underway, and the RFP is out right now. So we're currently in that process, and probably by not next meeting, the meeting after, hopefully the evaluation panel will have outcome to share. But it is well underway, and that's the idea. Is it's not going to be transported out of region for much longer. It would also depend on what the outcome is and how long it would take them to construct, and if they have an option available immediately. Yes, that is definitely on the radar and still.
I've just had lots of complaints about that actually.
Yep.
Why are we trucking them out of Taranaki?
Yep.
We need to move along with that one.
Yep.
Second lot of complaints I've had, well, actually two, I've had this from two ratepayers that have told me that they've had multiple notifications on their yellow bin that they're putting in the wrong type of plastics or the wrong materials being going in the recycling bin, which is fine. I'm a bit alarmed that their way of sorting it out is they've told me they don't put their yellow bin out no more and they put everything in the red bin. And it's been working fine because obviously we don't audit the red bins and we don't tell them that they're putting recycled stuff in the red bin. So that's starting to get out into the marketplace, which is the wrong message.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we got anything to we don't have any tools, do we, to sort that out?
Potentially with us moving from weekly to fortnightly services, the red lid bin is, although increasing in size, the fortnightly capacity for the rubbish is less. So people are going to have to recycle and use their food scraps in the glass crates. Hopefully that might combat those ratepayers that are putting everything into the red lid bin because they're not going to fit it. Hopefully.
Yeah, I was a bit shocked about it. I was like,
that's
oh, is that how you do it? You put it, we fill the red bin, we make sure the red bin's full first. And I went, okay. Right.
Through the chair, we have a couple other tools. So we do have a couple regional campaigns planned around recycling and use of the service and food scraps to help educate on a regional scale, because now we're more aligned. We could capitalize on that a bit more. So people in New Plymouth are hearing the same thing as Howrah, as Opunaki, who have this service. And the other thing is, under the new contract, we will now have 3 bin auditors instead of 1 per region. So that's more opportunity for education, discussion, because the idea is, that person isn't just out there with the stick, it's a carrot opportunity to have a chat with them and provide resourcing and education as well.
Because part of that is probably what Brian's saying is the red bin needs auditing as well as the yellow bin.
Yeah, do we audit the red bins?
No, not under the current one.
Yeah.
So, and there's also, rationale for that, because
I know it's a
a
shitty
big
job,
piece
but-
of educational piece, and it
Yeah.
is, a tricky one to tackle. Absolutely, it's going to be ongoing education and discussion.
And then yes, that is very difficult to sort that one.
Yeah.
The other biggest comment I've had is and it's a government thing, is that the logo, the triangle with the number in it, on the plastic
recycling
seems to be getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's a mystery to.
You're getting older and
It's a
older,
freaking
Brian.
mystery. It's a mystery to find it on the container, and lots of people give up.
Yeah.
So that's a big one, and it, I'm going to start my Grinch, but I've had friends down from Auckland again, and they're putting stuff in the wrong bins because Auckland runs different colours than us, and we haven't even, the government hasn't even sorted that out.
Well, they have now. It's going to be standardised.
They've got a standardised colour for New Zealand.
Yep.
They have. Oh, good.
Yep.
Oh,
That
good.
was part of the
We just
NFB
got to roll it out.
standardization
So
curbside
we're going to
rollout.
end up changing all our lids on our new bins.
So we have lobbied that with central government, because that really needs to be driven to them around their marketing and packaging requirements under central government. And we have lobbied that because the numbers were actually meant to tell you the type of plastic, never did tell you if it was recyclable or not. So that is something we're actively trying to get on MFE's radar to advocate for.
Yeah.
So you're talking.
I mean,
Sorry,
you're
talking about the colours of the bins.
well, if they've got a standardised New Zealand colour, I don't know
Yes.
whether we're going to be compliant with our yellow or blue or red.
I believe we are the standard.
We are. That's going to be the colour,
one.
because I understand Auckland runs different colours.
Yeah, I'm not
Because
sure
they
what.
put glass in the yellow bin.
Yes,
And
that
they come
is
down
the
here and
big
put glass in my
difference.
yellow bin, and I'm like, again, you did it like 2
Yeah.
years ago, you guys.
So that was something that we did flag in February when the standardisation happened, was that a lot of the promotion that MFE did was quite focused on Auckland, and it did cause a big issue for us here because we do have a glass crate and a recycling bin, and Auckland is one of the only councils there's a few, but it is more standard to have the glass separated than going in the recycling. But because they focused on Auckland, the message went out a little bit of we had to create our own materials because of that exact reason. The materials MFE provided us to promote this really focused on Auckland's system, I guess being the biggest, they sort of thought bang for your buck. But for us and a lot of other councils, it was actually very unhelpful because we received a lot of confused calls from people going, oh, am I supposed to now put glass in the recycling bin?
Yes.
So there was quite strong feedback back to MFE, I believe, about that, because the purpose of standardising was to make it easier, and it actually made it initially a little bit more challenging. But based on, I can give a quick update on the contamination rate. So what we were hoping was, so I didn't include that because we didn't have it. It'll be part of the data report coming through, but in the next round. But we've now had so for 23-24, our contamination rate was 18.76%, the lowest it has ever been. So normally we hit around 20. Doesn't seem like a big jump, but 18 is. And also on top of that, 9 of the 12 months of the year were under 20, which has also never happened before. So we did see the standardisation, and we can probably accredit that a little bit, that's helped with contamination, but we achieved a 15% average for the first time ever, and we are seeing that come down now. So could accredit that to the standardisation and other work the councils have done, but a really exciting result to see it get under 20 consistently for a long amount of time. Is
that a livable figure, is it?
Considering it was 9 of the 12 months, I think that is, if it was a one-off, then it could be a fluke, but seeing it be down that low for a long period of time is really reassuring that the standardisation and other council works have made some difference.
But what's achievable? I know 100% is not achievable, but well, it is. But let's be realistic.
I think our target in our waste plan is 15% consistently by 2029. Obviously, we were starting, I believe our baseline was at about 21.5. So that was, sort of a 2% per year sort of drop. So we've achieved that, sort of 3% down in the first year. If we can maintain that, that would be really great to see. But 15%, I think, was what we thought was realistic in the next few years.
Right. Yeah.
Where is that? Where is that in relation to all the other councils in New Zealand? Is 15 on the high side? Is 15?
My conversations with other councils is between 15 and 20 is what they see.
15
also, there's a few factors. Often if they have a MRF within the area, there tends to be a little bit higher. Even though the MRF might be different operated, but I think between 15 and 20 is what I've heard from a few other councils in the North Island.
Yep.
What's the number one contamination? Is it still the nappies, is it?
It depends. So we kind of have two levels of contamination we sort of classify as sort of like the lids and the soft plastics, things that were sort of accidents, I guess, like we just need to educate. And then you have like the really bad nappies, bags of rubbish, like quite horrific contamination. You sort of have that both lens. In terms of just the lighter contamination, it's lids, coffee cups, and soft plastics. At least for New Plymouth, I could say that is sort of the contaminant. I would say it's pretty consistent. That lids. So lids is one of the things we're kind of going to be focusing on. Soft plastics is really tough because we obviously don't offer anything there, but there are options around at supermarkets and things. And coffee cups is a continuous confusion because they feel like, some of them.
There's so many different types of
so
coffee
many
cups.
different types of coffee
Some
cups.
are paper,
So,
some are covered, some are.
yeah, they seem to be, from the Benauta report that I've looked through recently, those three categories, lids, soft plastics, and coffee cups, are kind of the big hitters. And then you've got bags of rubbish, nappies, things that are quite obviously not recyclable. So that's sort of a different lens.
Just sort of further on that point then, is anyone doing any work on trying to either increase the amount of recyclables, of the numbers, because there's three numbers you can recycle. Are we going to try and get any more of the other numbers in the recyclable system, or are we going to try and standardise a lot more products into those three numbers?
I believe the expectation is that no, we won't increase to the 3s, 4s, 6s, and 7s because they're not recyclable in New Zealand, which is why we no longer collect them. They were being sent to China, and they're not accepting anymore. I believe the hope is by only having 1 to 5 that manufacturers will just start switching to 1 to 5.
What pressure is going on to do that?
I guess that comes from a central government kind of push, but that kind of, like you're saying about the triangles being really hard to see, kind of being able to put on your packaging, that I'm curbside recyclable in New Zealand would be a really good thing for businesses to kind of be jumping on. So I guess that pressure comes from central government to just make your stuff in this plastic, because otherwise you're contributing to our landfill. So there is some work coming about plastic product stewardship, but I don't have an update on that just yet. You might know a bit more.
So there are a couple of tools in place for that. One could be a ban. So you would have seen that with the plastic bag ban. There's further ones planned in the future. That's kind of, again, coming with the big stick. Product stewardship is, again, another tool you could use where actually you put the accountability on the manufacturer. So they had to accept it back. So therefore, they had to consider what they're putting their products out in. And then, the third would be just establishing markets for this place. So investing in new infrastructure to be able to cope with those things. So again, an example of that would be the fence posts where, Countdown collects the soft plastic and then they get turned into fence posts. So investing in things like that. So those would be kind of the three tools where central government really leads to drive, increased recoverables. But again, we're focusing on the waste hierarchy. Our ideal is reusable before recycling when you come to the decision of you're disposing, even though, it's one step above landfill, you're still disposing rather than reusing.
Sure. And just from a sort of a policy point of view, should or could we be doing more from this council, this committee, to encourage, MFE, central government, to be looking at those areas and trying to use levers that they've got at their disposal to shift manufacturers to narrowing their processes down. Because to the three plastics that we recycle, they achieve most functions in food packaging that we want. Like I say, they sanitize and they're non-contaminant and all those sorts of things.
The three current recyclable 1, 2s, and 5s are the bulk of the recycling being put out into market anyway. So, the 4s, 3, 4s, and 7s. Let me do my numbers. 6s, sorry. Exactly. Are actually, while they're bulkier, are actually lighter in weight. So they take a more volume. But again, I guess how this committee could support is, delaying those product stewardship schemes only delays, how we can recover and drive those changes. The curbside standardization was a great example of leveraging, great outcomes. So supporting things when they are progressing, and then if there are delays, really querying why, and can this be done faster? Because we're left with the problem of being the ambulance at the bottom of the dealing with the waste, the leftover waste at a local,
which we can't do anything with because no one wants to recycle.
And at a local level,
Is it worth looking at? Can we,
rattle the cage?
Send a letter off to MFE or the minister or something like that to try and progress some of these things a little bit.
I think an upcoming opportunity would be when the plastic product stewardship scheme goes out for out for consultation to sort of sense check it. I'm not too sure on the date of that, but I can definitely provide an update, and that would be quite a good opportunity for us to put forward a report through that opportunity. It should be, I believe the last update we had at conference was that it would be early next year.
Right.
So in the next sort of 6 months, we should have an update of how we can voice through that.
Right.
I guess in the interim, through the chair, it could be querying why has that been delayed. Appreciate, MFE is going through a restructure, but that's just raising your disappointment. Like, well, we will submit no matter what. When it comes to that opportunity, we're just waiting for those opportunities, and we're ready to go.
And like you're saying, there's already levers in place, so let's pull them. It's not as if you have to rewrite a piece of legislation to get it to go. It's just actually using what's there and making it work.
I thought it'd be quite easy for the government to just, lids have been popping up for years and years and years, and why don't they just make the lids out of the same materials as the rest of the bottles?
Well, they do, but it is recyclable, but it's just what the contamination is, the damage it does to machinery who does the sorting. That's the problem, not the lid.
I thought some of them got little plastic washers in them and all sorts of things, gasket inside them as well, to seal off the bottles.
It does depend. If it's like some of the drink bottles have that rubbery bit,
they got a little bit of polystyrene in there.
That's the problem.
Yes, I do. Yep, I do know that. And coffee cups are such a bad problem.
I gather all mine up and give them to the local school, and the kids make things with them. They're good wheels and
mean. So they do got they have got that little bit of soft polystyrene or something.
Some of them do. Milk bottles don't. Which is great, but it's unfortunate because you'd think that same plastic they should be recyclable, but you go and add a different kind of plastic to the same component. You're not pulling that little bit out of the top, and then it's no longer recyclable. So again, that's where central government needs to come in and.
If one company can do it,
Right, I think we had a very good discussion on that, and so I think we can move on from there. I'll move the recommendations on page 16.
Second it.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Recycling and waste and sorting facility tour.
I can pick that one up. So yes, we've had some interest in a tour, which we were hoping to have off the back of the meeting today, but with the conference on, we've pushed that to our next meeting in November. We've had some suggestions as to places we might go, and this was just an invitation to have discussion around any places you might want to visit, and more officers are here. perhaps engage in some suggestions from them as well. So we've got the Stratford Transfer Station, some new Plymouth initiatives in regard to recycling commercial waste at the transfer station, plastic recycling program, and the recycling of material from the skip bin scheme. But perhaps, you know, if there are any suggestions from the councils as to facilities or initiatives or anything in particular that might be of interest to the committee, or committee members have anything in particular that they'd like to see. Don't have to resolve it today, but just a heads up, that we'll be having a tour off the back of the next meeting, and if there are places anyone would like to see, or suggestions of places that we could go and visit, then we're more than happy, Maureen, I'm more than happy to take those on board.
And one area I was thinking of was that I think it's the waste management load there, bins for Bonnie Glen, for their trucks, just, yeah. But you probably see that out at the transfer station anyway.
Yeah.
The waste.
Harwood transfer station would be a great place to view loading of our the Harwood waste into these trucks.
Yep.
So we are changing the methodology of load out in Harwood transfer station, going from that big waste pad to down at the shark tooth, at the bottom of the shark tooth area there. So the trucks will come around and be loaded by a machine there. So that may be a good way for you to see the waste transportation trucks moving around.
Yep. I think that on this occasion, I think if we go to New Plymouth, and I think next time we can put that down to go to Hara. I'm mindful that, not to make a big day of it. Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. But certainly, yes, I hadn't forgotten that Hara has things we need to look at as well. Yeah, Egmont Recycling, because they do a lot of agricultural stuff, and things like that. Which I think is, there's a great deal of scope that we need to look at there. Yeah.
The only comment I'd make would be just wondering whether we could get the dishwasher along.
The washing its waste trailer.
Oh, let's call it the dishwashing.
Well,
whether we see it at the transfer station or junction or something like that.
You bring it. If you get that down there, we can have a nose at that same time. But I'm just wondering whether, as a committee, the start of each triennium, we should actually do a tour for new councillors or new members to actually just say, like, this is how we do it in Taranaki. Just as an eye opener or something.
Yes.
Should be probably every triennium somewhere in the early stages.
Yep. Any other comments? Thank you. Is there a recommendation? I just received the recommendation. Yep, I'll do that. Second. All in favour? Aye. Carried. Next meeting date is the 14th of November. Now, just bearing in mind problems we ran into this year, and today is a classic example of that. That's why we haven't got the Stratford council members here, is because the LGNZ conference is on. Marie has put out a calendar for next year. Is it too early to know when your waste minimisation conference is?
No, so we do have those dates. They made available as soon as the last one ended, and it is the same time next year in that sort of late May. I can double check the exact dates and provide those to Marie, but yes, we do find out instantly the next dates.
Thank you. Yeah, so we don't have that conflict. Yeah, I don't know. Do we know when the LGNZ conference next? Because this is an abnormal having it in August rather. It's normally in July, so. Well, it was always blowing in Wellington. Yeah, because like I say, all the ones I've ever been to have been in July. So, but
perhaps once they're made available, we can reassess them.
Look at that so that we don't clash. Yep. Okay. Thank you.
I can close out with karakia if you like.
Yes.
Kia uru mai. Ki runga, ki rau, ki roto, ki wā. Kai Māori. E whokai, no mai, ina hua, o te wā, o te nakina, o te waitai, o te waimare, ngā tai, ngā tangaroa, ngā maru, o Ranginui, i tuhi nei, o Papatūānuku, i take nei, tūturu, o Witi Whakanoa, kia tīna. Kuie, tai.
Okay.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Lunches awaits.
It's great. Yeah.
Like, it's just like, is that one line?
Yeah, it's a real tough one. The first meeting that
Yep. Yep.